Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of my interview series. Now, today we've got a pretty special guest that you may recognize. Now, he is also an interviewer, so I've kind of flipped the script a little bit. Now, you might know him from Behind the Voice. Mate, how are you going today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you so much for taking the time, really inviting me. It is a very odd feeling, but as I said, like it's flipped a switch, so it's good.
we've
It's good to be
we
here.
we've flipped it, and now you are in the chair that gets all the questions. So it must be a little
Yeah,
nerve-wracking in a way, just just sitting
yeah. It
there.
is. It is pretty nerve-wracking. I'm like, what can I even say? Like I don't even know. So yeah, I'm just gonna try my best.
Well, going straight into it, obviously you started your channel 5 years ago when you started making gaming content, and then obviously 2 years later you started doing the interview show. But what inspired you to actually start making content almost over 5 years ago?
Well, I actually started making content quite a long time before that. I think I started my first channel really was in 2015.
Oh
That's when I
wow.
started. So it's 10 years ago. Maybe like 2014, something like that. Like I started like 10 plus years ago, and the idea was the same, like to make more gaming videos, and that's where I started. I thought it would be something, but it turned out to be something else. And the reality check happened, and I was like, okay, so this is how it is. I need to really work on to bring something more unique. But I tried for a long time, and it took me sort of what 8 years to really finally figure out like, okay, this is what I can probably put out something unique.
This is you found your niche, and I find it funny. I feel like the real Brad saved a lot of people who couldn't afford video games. I remember watching so many of his playthroughs growing up, and it's like you
Yeah.
saved me when I couldn't get the games myself.
I think same for me. I think it's weird because when one of the biggest games that I loved, I still love, is The Last of Us, and I watched him do the whole series. I watched the whole 60 episodes out. Like I would watch every day waking up. It was like my binge watch series before anybody started binge watching or something like that. I don't know. It was like
Yeah, yeah.
I binge watched the whole thing, the whole game, and I was so in love with it. And that's why when I got my PS4, I was like, even though I know the game by heart, I have to play this game again because Last of Us Part 2 is coming out. I was like, I have to play this game. So yeah, the Rat Brat really helped me not only like bring that passion of like making videos, but I was like, okay, this is how I'm gonna make it. This is how I'm gonna do it. And I would like to explore more in the game. I think because of him, I started exploring a little bit more and trying to find everything that I could in games. So yeah, he has helped a lot of people.
I feel like that's like a standard experience for like all people who start a YouTube channel. They watch someone else and then they want to go
Yeah.
start it, and then they get hit with like the 5 to 10 views on a video. And it's like I
Yeah.
feel like it's a universal experience for like everyone who starts a YouTube channel. But hey, look at you now. You've found your way.
Yeah, happy for me, like because it was 8 years of like trying different things. I tried Let's Plays, which didn't work out. The Let's Plays were kind of dying, and then I switched on to doing funny content, and I realized I was not really that good at funny content. I was not really being funny. It was like weird, and then I switched to game news videos, which I did a lot, a little bit, and then game reviews because I thought like maybe I can try those. And maybe there were a couple of friends of mine who were doing some game reviews a lot. So I was like, I was trying to take their ideas. I was trying to watch a lot of reviewers, girlfriend reviews. I watched a lot. So I was trying to pick something from that. So I was like mixing all these other content to hopefully, oh, maybe I can do this. But none of them really worked where I wanted to like kind of like have an audience, which I didn't feel like I ever did. So none of that was working, and I was about to like stop everything, and I was like, yeah, probably content creation is not for me and everything. But then I took this one final step, and it worked out.
Yeah, in 2022, you started Behind the Voice and you did your first
Yeah.
interview with someone from the Apex Legends game, which I remember I went through and I watched a couple of your early episodes and then I watched your newer episodes to see that, yeah, I feel like I'll be there. Like, give me 6 months and I'll come back to this episode and be like, oh, I should have. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you were making all these switches, what made you go, oh, maybe I should try and interview people? And who did you reach out to at the start? Because obviously we know you did the Apex Legends person, but who else did you reach out to when you were like, yep, I'm doing interviews?
Yeah, I think my idea of having like just doing interviews in itself was I love watching interviews in the first place. Like I like whatever movie comes out or a show that I watch that I love, I would go on YouTube like weird man. I would just go on YouTube and type the show and then type interviews, and I would
Interview,
watch.
yeah.
Yeah, I just watch it. I just know what it is. I remember watching 7 hours of Deadpool and Wolverine interviews of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds and the director. I just watched 7 hours, and I just didn't realize I was watching 7 hours. I watched Young Sheldon, 4 hours of convention talks of young Sheldon cast. Like I was doing that. So I used to do that so much. And I thought like maybe in video games there's not much out there. I'm pretty sure that actors want to talk about it. I'm 100% sure there are people who want to listen, watch it. So that's why kind of like I started. But the first guest was really the only person I reached out to was actually Anjali Bhimani,
Oh,
the
no
voice from
way.
Apex. Yeah, she was the one. I was literally like I had known her for 2 years. But she followed me like on Instagram, and I've been in touch, and she helped me a couple of times for something. I was working with a company at the time, and she helped me. She was a guest in one of the award shows I was doing at the time, like for that company. And so I reached out to her, and she said yes and all that. So I thought like, okay, she knows me a little bit.
Yeah.
If I want to do this, I want to do this interview thing, which I had very much big doubts on if I can even do it. I thought like maybe one person, if anybody else can do it, maybe one person will be able to say yes, and that probably is Anjali. And she did say yes, so it worked.
When you did upload that first episode all the way back in October of 2022, do you remember what your mindset was when you were about to hit upload on the first interview? And you were like, what was your mindset going into it? And like, what did you have like an expectation of like what to go from there?
I really this is one of the things which is very funny because I really did this for like a test. It was like literally a test. It was not even named as a podcast. I didn't even call it as a podcast in my head. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this interview thing. I don't know if I am good as an interviewer. I'm like, I don't know if I can have good questions. I just don't know. So I just wanted to try this one video, see if I can do this in the first place, if I can ask good questions or find questions, and if I can have a conversation. Literally, that was a test video. Really, and so that's the mindset I had. I was like, okay, it's not going to perform anything, obviously, no, of course not. But I just wanted to make sure that if I'm having a conversation that is good enough in front, like with the guest, and they're having a fine time, and I'm able to have good questions, and I think it's gonna be fine. And that's like the next few videos after that was really just test videos. I probably didn't even call my podcast Behind the Voice until like 10 episodes in because I thought like I will not be able to get any guests. I mean, I was like, who will say yes to me? Like that was my biggest thing. Like nobody's gonna say yes. So that was one that I would not get a guest. And the second one is I don't think so I'm that good of an interviewer. So it was really more of a test. And I was taking a look at that, like, okay, it's just a test. Like take a look and take and go in that way and don't even call it a podcast. And I then thought about 10 episodes later, like, okay, what should I call this? Maybe now I can call it a podcast because like I can probably book some guests. So yeah, the mindset at the time was different for in terms of uploading, but in terms of like if I can ask questions, I was like, I don't know, like if I can do that. I was just watching other interviewers and what they did and try to kind of fill in the gaps in some ways, like trying to come up with questions that I think that would be fun for me. Maybe people would want to know. Because previously, way before, like almost like 4 years ago, I was doing interviews for another company. It was like for esports individuals, and I just didn't watch them. So I was just making up questions and I don't know if I was having fun with it, and I was just faking it, the reactions and stuff. So I thought like, okay, I'm not good at interviewing, and I thought I should not be doing interview videos at all because I didn't watch, I didn't feel anything. But for these guys, for actors, I always felt for the scenes, I always felt for the acting in general. So I thought like maybe I can do something more, and that's probably gave me a little bit of hope, like maybe I can get somewhere. So yeah, that was sort of the mindset to just try to start, and now it's here.
It's funny how you did this as a test, like to
Yeah,
see if it would work, and now you're 104 episodes in, which
yeah.
is nuts to think about. I remember seeing your Instagram post a while back when you did the 100th episode, and I wanted to
Thank you.
know, going on, was there anyone you really wanted to interview, like early on? Like, was there any names you're like, oh, I definitely want him on the podcast?
I think at the time, like, I don't know. I think at the time, the God of War Ragnarok was coming out. So initially, I was like, okay, if I can get someone from God of War Ragnarok, which happened, like, I did get someone from God of War Ragnarok, which was great. And so I was going, I think, 1 month at a time or a few games at a time. I'm like, okay, if I can get from there, maybe it was like some games that I played before. Like, I remember playing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy before I started the podcast. I was like, okay, would love to get someone from there and I did, which is it was good. But like I still have, like when I kept on doing it, I was like, oh, maybe I would love to get Troy Baker. I would love to get Roger Clark, and like I'd love to get some of these guys that I know from the games world. Like I've known their performances for a long time. Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey and all these people. I was like, if I can get them, that'd be great. Yuri Lowenthal is like one big person I would love to talk about and geek about Spider-Man. So, but I never got the opportunity, unfortunately. So I'm just still trying to hopefully get that chance. But otherwise, like I've tried some other people who I thought like, okay, maybe I can. And then in my mindset, I was like, well, I don't think so, I'll get it. And then one or two I did get, which was surprising for me. So like I am constantly trying to reach out and trying to get as many, but there's some, I can only do so much. And if they're interested, then that's great. If they're not interested, then they're not interested. So I just go with that mindset at this time.
And
Yeah.
this is a spin-off question, but out of all the names that you've just said, if you could get one of them on your podcast, who are you picking and why?
It's a hard question, but I always wanted to talk to Troy Baker because I feel like he has, I don't know, I feel like he could break down scenes the way I always wanted to hear it from him. It's very odd. Like I want to hear it from him breaking down certain scenes, and I feel like I know how it will sound. It's so weird. I don't know why I have that kind of mindset. Like I know how it will be like, and I want to know because I know he's going to be a little bit more detailed. He's going to pick up on some of the nuances that he likes to pick up. So like I want to talk about that certain scenes from a lot of different video games that he's been a part of. And I think like maybe if I can get a like chance to talk to him, I can ask some questions that I feel like maybe he would appreciate or something. Like if maybe he has not gotten the opportunity to talk in depth, and I would love to do that. And so yeah, Troy Baker is probably the one.
Alright, that's a valid pick. Going on to it, obviously you've done, like I mentioned before, 104 episodes. Was there ever a moment where you uploaded a video where you kind of realized, like, oh crap, I'm actually starting to get a bit of attention here? Or, like, what was your first viral interview that you did out of all the episodes that you've done?
Yeah, I remember that very much. It was Baldur's Gate 3 just came out, or was yeah, it just came out, and I had Devora Wild on. She plays Lae'zel in the game, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I didn't know. They didn't know. The actors didn't know. I didn't know how big this game is gonna be. I knew that the game is going to be big. I didn't expect it to go just skyrocket into like wherever it's going. So when the episode dropped out, and I was like, okay, this is great. We had a good conversation. It was an hour long. That episode went out, and then I started getting a lot of comments. All of a sudden, like there was like comments every 5 minutes, and I was like, why am I getting so many comments? So every
Holy
five
crap, it's
minutes,
going
yeah,
viral.
it's going up, it's going up. But that was I think at this point, still my number one, the biggest viewed episode is like got to 175,000 people have seen that, and it's like been shared so many times. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of people. I didn't expect it to go that far. So that was like really the one episode that really got, which is an hour long, which really got like that much attention. And Baldur's Gate 3 was it. And I think every cast member I've talked to has gone like a pretty good attention in terms of, and it's Baldur's Gate 3, at least at that time, 2023, from I think September, August, and November. These 3 months are the months when I put it out, these episodes. And they all have done very well. A lot of people were there. So, but Devora Wilds was the one that is the highest, and the second very close to, which is very cool, is Ilka Willi from Alan Wake 2, which did so well.
Moving on from that as well, because obviously you've also had quite a few interesting guests, and I wanted to know, was there ever a guest that you've tried to get for ages and then he said yes, like eventually, or like someone that you really persisted with? Out of all the people you've got, who do you think was the hardest to land?
Hardest to land. I think I'm just trying to remember who else is there somebody who has taken longer? I have one person in mind, but I'm trying to think if there's another person who has taken longer. I think as far as I remember, it's this wonderful actress called Christina Cole. She's been in Suits. She has been in a number of other shows. She was in the first James Bond movie of Daniel Craig's first James Bond movie.
No
She
way.
was a receptionist in that movie. So yeah, she played this role called Alice Wake in Alan Wake 2. She was also completely Annabella in Final Fantasy 16. So I wanted to get her for Alan Wake 2 specifically, and I think I reached out to her in last year in March. This was in March, and we got like everything was ready. We had a date set, and then I was told that she has fallen sick, so we'll be like you have to reach out later on. So after that was March and April, May, June, July, and I think by August is when I got her next, and I was like
Oh
finally
wow.
able to get her and finally able to talk to her. So I was like, I was like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Either they are not interested anymore. Probably it's like I don't want to say anything, but like probably it's like trying to give an excuse like okay, it's not gonna work out. Like and they probably said something, but eventually it just happened. So I was like, okay, at least I had to wait, but it's fine. I don't mind waiting.
Feel like it's a good feeling though when you finally get like you land on an interview you've been trying to get for a couple of months and you're like, yes, I finally get to speak with this person after so long, you know?
Yeah.
Well, speaking on this, what do you think as an interviewer, because you've been doing this for a little bit now, what do you think are the biggest struggles when it comes to hosting a podcast where you interview people, or like the biggest challenges when it comes to it?
The biggest challenge is I think one of the things is like obviously like is booking these actors or giving them a reason to join the podcast. Maybe it's like I think one of the things that is still a struggle because you have games media companies like GameSpot and IGNs. They will probably get a much better chance of getting that actor or actress onto their possible show, whatever that is, and they will get it because it's IGN and there's much more in play there. But as an individual creator, it's much harder to kind of convince that hey, it would be great if we could kind of share a story, do this interview kind of thing. So I think booking the guests becomes a little bit harder, and it's that's probably has always been the biggest challenge, which is like, can they be interested at all, and will I be able to get them at all? So like that I think is the biggest thing. And other than that, I feel like there's always this the thing that when you're uploading the episode and then it doesn't get that much attention that you're hoping, you have this kind of like weird kind of thing going in your head, and like, okay, this didn't work out, didn't work out. So those struggle in the sense, it's not really a struggle, but it's like it's kind of like a mindset switch. Like probably not everybody is going to have that same kind of affection towards that game or towards that character as much as it is. And our jobs is to just kind of give actors kind of like a platform to even talk about something that they've worked on, that they enjoyed working on, whatever their feeling must be. Like they get that platform to get to share what they had during the process of the recording of the game or doing the motion capture, whatever it was, like giving that platform, allowing them to talk more about it, maybe geek about it a little bit as well. So just giving that platform is like, so have that kind of like mentality shift sometimes is a hard thing to do. So I feel like these are the two kind of like big struggles that I constantly face all the time. And I think it's going to stay for a long time. So yeah, that's a challenge I'm still going through.
Going on to that as well with your interviewing, what does your average research look like when you've booked a guest? Like, what's your process for research? Do you go through all their social media? Do you go to like, what's your
Yeah, I think it's weird. Like I think I enjoy the research time a lot because I is like kind of everything. If sometimes it's a game that I play that I like and then I reach out. Sometimes it's a game that I know is coming out, it's big enough, and I'm gonna reach out. Like Clear Obscure Expedition 33, I knew from last year it's gonna be a big one. So, and when I got to see the cast, I was like, okay, obviously the cast is huge and it's great, and I would love to talk to them. So when I have these games, even for example, Baldur's Gate 3, I haven't finished the game. I had played like not even finished Act One, and I would love to talk to these guys. Now, these people, all these actors have played different characters and their story goes till Act Three and goes beyond. So there's so much to see. So in situations like that where I have not played the game and I would love to talk to this actor, I would just basically watch all of the cutscenes that there is, like literally every single cutscene that there is, even side quests, whatever that is. I watch all of it. I feel that feeling, emotional, whatever feeling that is, when gamers playing the game and then watching it, and I understand what is going on, what the character is doing, everything, and I get that feeling in me. And if I get that feeling, I immediately have questions in my mind when I'm preparing the questions. And at the same time, I look at the social media, what they posted recently, maybe on Instagram, what they were talking about, who they were like replying to this in on Twitter, or what they were saying, like posting on stories and Instagram. So I would see that. I would see what they've done previously via IMDb, if there's some projects, and see what kind of projects they've worked on. If there's some short movies, I would watch those short movies too, just to kind of like talk a little bit about it. So I do these kind of research. I do like watch some of the things that they've done previously, and it's fun to do that. And then sometimes I also, if there's other interviews that were done with that person before for some other project, it could be a game, it could be anything else. It could be a written interview for something other project. Then I would read that and I'll see like, okay, what they've done, and maybe I can kind of come back to that. Maybe 10 years ago they did something, and it would be great to see 10 years ago and 10 years after and what they feel. So like I feel like those are things to ask about maybe. And so I look out everything, read everything that I can, and then start preparing questions.
with that? What do you think is like the most that you've done for like research wise? Because like for example, like out of all the things you've done for research, what's like the craziest thing? Have you played a game start to end? Have you sat there for hours or
I think Baldur's Gate 3 would be the perfect, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 would be the perfect example because there's so much in it.
Mhm.
And there's so many branching sort of side stories that some people like a lot more. Which, for example, I think with Neil Newborn, I think there's a moment which is not exactly a main quest kind of thing, but there's a
Yep.
point where he talks about how, okay, he's he's not fan of clowns. And so that you don't have to, it's not like a big thing, but people have made this like a big important thing. So there's things like that that I watch and I see what people have been talking about, but people kind of post. And so I watch all of these different type of contents that people are posting on YouTube or Twitter, whatever it is. And if there's a lot of comments, then definitely that is something that people attach to. And but yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 in total had like 4 5 hours, 6 hours of like worth of content that I have to watch for particular character, which I'm like interviewing, and then also to see other things that people have also posted, which are again like 30 40 minutes long. So it took me a while to watch all of that,
Yeah.
and then also see what they were talking about on Instagram, and then also see what they have talked about in the written interview, so that I don't ask the same questions that they've been asked like 5 times now. So like there, it took a long time for me to realize, like, okay, this is happening, that's happening, that's what I can connect. So
Now, obviously, you're a gamer and an interviewer. How do you think talking to voice actors for your podcast is like? Do you think it's changed the way you experience games now? Getting all the insight when it comes to talking to all the people who work on video games.
yeah, I think so. Like I've always, I think I'm different that way because I when I play a video game, I can play a game if the game story is good enough. I'll play the game. I don't care if it's just a walking simulator. I'll just play the whole thing because I love the stories first. Like that's my biggest thing. For me, for a lot of people, it's like gameplay first and then probably story. For me, it's story first and then gameplay. If story is not that good, if gameplay is fine, I'll stick with it. But if story is not good enough, then I'll not be playing that, unfortunately. That's how I feel it. So I think I'm enjoying the stories a lot more, and I love I probably am able to pick up some of these, like, okay, this probably scene might have taken some preparation to do, or I would love to know about what happened in this part of scene, how they did it. And so there's some more, I'm more curious about certain scenes when I get to see it, and I'm always curious to know, like, okay, how whoever did this was great if that actor is like kind of like not so much talked about or not have not been interviewed that much. So I'm always like a little bit more curious when I see these scenes. So it's fun to kind of experience that in kind of both the way as a gamer who's seeing these scenes, but I now experience them a little bit differently, where I'm like watching it like as a full on story rather than just a video game where I'm supposed to fight someone else. I feel all the feelings that is supposed to give it to me, and I get into that zone, and I feel that I am a part of that world, so that I get all the feelings that the game is supposed to give me. And so it's so much a better experience. And then I have a lot of different thoughts about what I can ask this person if I ever get a chance. So
Thanks for going on that. And something I just thought of, I just thought I'd ask because obviously, you've done 104 episodes, and I feel like, has there ever been like a funny moment behind the scenes or something embarrassing that happened during an interview or like,
wow, there's like interesting moments that I'm trying to remember. Not, I don't know, like if there was anything that was like really something that happened that I kind of remember, like kind of behind the scenes. I don't exactly remember, but there's like some fun little things that there's one guest that it's not really that much, it's not really that interesting, but like it
yeah,
was basically that I used to do these five kind of like random questions thing towards the end of the episodes, which I'm not doing so much right now, but like I would do like towards the end of it, I would just ask kind of completely random five questions. And this one guest wanted to make it a little bit fun. Nobody has done it, but this one guest was interested enough to make it something a little bit unique. And they were like, okay, you ask me five, and I'll ask you five as well.
oh
So it's gonna be
wow.
both of us. Yeah. So it was like really fun. I was like, okay, I was literally talking to a friend or something. Like it was really, really cool. Like I all of a sudden thought like, okay, she's right here and we are like in some a bar or whatever it is, and we were talking like just normally. So it was like a fun moment that I started out in a different way and I thought he's gonna go in that direction, but she turned it around and made it a little bit more fun. So I think that was the one that kind of speaks out to me. Otherwise, like there's been mostly about like we've talked something a little bit more and it took like 10 minutes that we've been talking about something that was not related to what we were supposed to be talking about. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm wasting your time. And but we were going on and it was going very well. So I think one of the other ones that speaks out to me was very early on when I had Adam J. Harrington. He plays Sindri in God of War Ragnarok. There was a point where I was talking about like a little bit of about anxiety and stuff. And so after the recording was done, we spoke for 10 more minutes in that topic, and he was going on about it and how it is. So I was talking about how it's like nervous I was before this, and it was like talking about how that feeling happens and how it is affected actors and all of that. So it was like kind of linking all of this, and it was going for 10 minutes. And I was like, that's great. Like you gave 10 more minutes of your time to talk about this one silly thing. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. So that I think I remember these two moments, which is fun.
I feel like that's a good feeling as an interviewer where you've done the interview and now you're just sitting there talking with them for a little bit extra. Like, it's a good
Right.
feeling. Now, going on to my next question, this somebody asked me this the other day, and I'm gonna pass it on to you. If would you rather, right, have a guest who gives you one word answers, or have a guest that eats during the entire interview?
Eats during the entire. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Someone asked me this
Uh
the other day, and I was like, "Whoa."
I don't know. Like if it's a one answered one, like I don't know if they I don't know it'd be a fun. I think I'll be sweating quite a bit because I've had that a little bit as well, but I
I
thought I was not doing a good
it's a
job.
fear, isn't it? Like when you go to
It is a
interview
fear.
someone and you have all these questions, but you're like, what if they get through it really fast? What if they're like,
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, I remember I've had that as well. But like I think I would probably rather go with I think the one who's eating. I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it
Go with the
feels
guest
like
who's eating the entire
yeah,
time.
it feels like a much better, like an easier time. I feel like at least because I've had those moments where I prepared like I don't know 25 questions and we are in 20 questions and it's been only 10 minutes and I'm like, how did you go through 20 questions in 10 minutes? So like it is much more nerve-wracking there. So I feel like having someone who's eating and kind of talking like it's fine, like at least they're talking more, it's eating, they're eating, it's fine. I'll also bring something along and I'll also eat with them, I think.
Was there anyone you reached out to who you thought you wouldn't get, but then you did get? 'Cause I've noticed a few names on there, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, I think one
Yeah.
of the recent ones because I was watching The Boys, and I saw you got Shawn Ashmore, and I'm like, holy crap!
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So was
Oh
there?
my God.
I'd love to know more about that, but before we go to that, but yeah, is there anyone you tried to get who you're like, oh, maybe I don't think I got a chance with this person, and then you got that person?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a very simple answer. And I think Sam Lake is it's not I think it is Sam Lake was the guy who I thought like yeah, I'm not gonna get him. There's no
Yeah.
way. Like I think it was 2024 when I started the year and I was like, okay, these are somebody told me like, hey, maybe you can just create a list of people that you would like to have. Like just for the like maybe keep it as a goal and kind of like that in a way.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make 5 people list, and I had Sam Lake on there. I was like, of course, these are the people I will not get, but I'll write it because this guy's told me. But when I reached out, and I was so surprised that Remedy, the team from their side, they said yes, Sam Lake is interested. So I was running across this room like, no way. There's just 2 weeks before he said, like after 2 weeks, I was supposed to talk to him and I was keeping building that anticipation. And so it was so good that, and it was great because I emailed them and I forgot to ask about the timing. And I was like, okay, I'm talking to Sam Lake. I would love to talk about a lot of different things, Max Payne, Alan Wake, Control, everything. So I told him like, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, but is it okay if I can talk to him for an hour and a half, which I usually don't. I only go for an hour. And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay, that's great. And then when he came along, he was in a very beautiful set. And I looked at my own, it was not like this. I was like, oh my God, Sam Lake has done much more better. And then I told him, like, there's so many questions. There's also fan questions. If it goes beyond an hour and a half, is that okay? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was
Yes.
like, what? So 1 hour and 45 minutes I talked to him.
Wow.
And it was like great. He said so many good things. So yeah, that's the one. He's the one.
What was your longest interview? Was that it, or was there another one that went for like way longer than that?
I think Sam Lake was one. It was which is like an hour 45, an hour 50, and there was another one. Forgetting. I remember there was another one which was also around hour 50. Well, I'm forgetting the name, but like she plays Bloodhound in Apex Legends, which yeah, I reached out to her on Twitter, and it happened. The first only person who said yes via Twitter tweets, which was very weird. But yeah, I talked to her for an hour 50 minutes. So those are the two guests which took a long time, which almost 2 hours. I think Allegra Clark is her name. Yeah, Allegra Clark, who we spoke for a long time. So because she has done other things as well, along with Apex Legends, and Apex Legends was the one that she was known for, but she has also done other things. So we were talking a lot of different things.
When it comes to you reaching out to people, I'd love to know, have you had more success in emails, messages, Twitter? Like, what have you had the most success from getting guests? My guess is
Yeah,
emails.
yeah, I know. Like, I think, yeah, for me, it's also emails. I've never really gotten so much luck with DMs, messages. I've had that as well, where I've booked some people from Instagram or Twitter, but not so much. I think it depends upon how far they are in their journey, I guess, or how many followers they have, or whatever it is, like how much attention they get via their messages. And there's some people who just don't want or just don't open messages regardless. So it's hard to kind of reach out, but like mostly it's emails. That's the safest bet I think I kind of have.
Now, this would be. I have a tough question for you, but before we get to that, I'd love to know what it was like meeting Shawn Ashmore and doing an interview with him. Because we're coming back to that. What was
Yeah.
that like? You guys spill the beans on this?
Oh my God. I wanted to when the moment when I had the interview with Sam Lake, then everything started spinning in my head. Like, oh, maybe I can have Shawn Ashmore. That'd be great. Like, because he's been in Quantum Break and Alan Wake too. And I was like, this would be awesome if I can have Shawn Ashmore. Nothing happened for a long time. But I really have to give thanks to Janina Gavankar, who I was talking to as well. She's also in Alan Wake too, and some other games as well. And so I was interviewing with her, and we were talking about Quantum Break a little bit because she also loves playing games, and she played that game, and she has met obviously Shawn, and we were talking about like how Shawn was great and everything, and I told her, and I usually tell this to people who's someone else and they know someone who I want to have, and I told her like, oh, I would love to have him, and she just literally took her phone out and messaged him and linked my podcast to him at that time,
No way.
literally during on the show, literally in front of me. And then she forwarded the message that Shawn said that he's good to go. He would love to do it. And
No
so we
way.
waited for like, yeah, it was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, big thanks to Janina really for actually giving me that opportunity. So 2 months later, actually, we got to do it on January this year. And but yeah, talking to Shawn Ashmore, I was like, okay, I have to talk about X-Men. I have to talk about the rookie that I'm watching as well. I have to talk about a lot of different things. So and Alan Wake and everything. And he was so excited to talk about the games that he has been a part of. So I feel like he never got really the opportunity to talk a lot more. And he was so excited. We literally, when he joined, we talked for like 10 minutes, but he was just excited about talking about the games that he's been part of. So I knew that he's never probably didn't get enough opportunity to talk about Quantum Break and Alan Wake too, specifically because that came out like not so long ago. So yeah, he said so much. He had so much to say, and I was so happy that he had such a lengthy kind of like answers for each question. And he was like so excited to talk about the games that he's been a part of, as well as the shows and the movies and everything that I got to ask him. And so it was like a incredible moment. I was like, there was many moments in the recording when I was like, I cannot believe I'm talking to
Yeah.
Shawn Ashmore. So yeah, it was a beautiful moment.
Now, this is going to be tough because I feel like I know how people would respond with this. But if you had to do a top 5 interviews you've done with an honorable mention,
Yeah.
with no, this is just not in any order, but just a top 5 and an honorable mention, who are you picking?
Oh wow. Okay, well Sam Lake is definitely there. Sam Lake, Shawn Ashmore. We got Luke Roberts. These three. Two
You got
more. Let me see.
an honorable mention as well.
And honorable mentions. Yeah, right. There's a lot of people. Who else? Daniel Bisutti. She's been God of War Ragnarok. So her, I had a great time with her. Who else? I think Neil Newborn.
Oh, he's
Yeah, Neil
good.
Newborn.
He's
Yeah,
good.
it was fun. I had 30 minutes of time with him, so I felt like if I wish I could have more. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, we talked about and we connected with stuff that with movies in here in India. Honorable mentions, I think, would be Christina Cole would be one honorable mention. I feel like I was really a fan of her since the first James Bond movie. I saw her as a receptionist and all that, so I was like, oh, okay, she's in the game. So she's one, and I think another one, if I can pick as two honorable mentions, I can pick. I think. Let me see. Like I'm trying to remember who else.
I imagine like
Because I feel like
someone you've interviewed watches this and goes, "Why didn't you put me in your top 5?"
it's like, oh my God, it's such a tough thing. I'm like, okay, maybe I will miss someone, and I'll go back and I'm like, oh no,
I mean,
this person I'm supposed to say
you get a
his name,
comment
like
on
her
this. You
name.
get a comment on Instagram going, "Why didn't you name me in your top 5?"
Oh man, yeah, it's the worst thing. I'm trying to think like who else could have been.
I'd laugh if you like after this episode aired, you're like, "Oh, now I know who I was wanting to say."
Right, yeah, it
Yeah.
happens all the time. It's after the episode or after the talk happens, and then you're like, oh, yeah, of course, this person. I think if I want to name someone, would probably be David Harewood.
Ooh, that's a
I
good
have
one.
watched him. Yeah, I've watched him I know him from Supergirl. I liked his work there, and I was like, oh, great. And I know him. He was talking so much about Supergirl, and he loves the cast a lot. He kind of shares it almost every month about the cast, almost every couple of months. So I had to ask about him. So yeah, I think these are two kind of honorable mentions. There's a lot of Alan Wake people there, but yeah.
I think I'm starting to guess your favorite game. I'm not. I just have a feeling, Now,
Yep.
uh, I wanted to ask, I always experience this, and I feel like you may too, but do you ever do an interview and then maybe like a day or two later you think of another question, you're like, "Oh, I should have asked him this," or like, do you ever go
Yeah.
back and be like, "Oh, maybe I could have done some better questions?"
Yeah, I think all the time. I think you just ask that question, and I have this guest in mind that I thought I should have kept in top five. But it's like Emily Rose is like one of my like I literally had a crush on her ever since I watched. I didn't know that she was in a video game. I got to know I was watching a show. Then I got to know about Uncharted and all that stuff. But I think with the interview with Emily Rose, like where I'm like, okay, I wish I could ask her in different ways. I didn't talk enough about God of War Ragnarok, so I was like, I wish I could do that. Same with Neil Newborn. I think like, oh, I wish I could have asked more and I've done more because I was talking to him when Baldur's Gate came out, so I couldn't talk spoiler stuff with him. So I wish like now I wish like, oh, I wish I could talk a little bit more spoilery. So there's like it happens almost all the time when I go back and watch it. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could have asked something more here, which was a little bit interesting. Now I can think of this question. So like it happens all the time, especially when I'm editing. It happens at
Oh
that
yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah. Especially when you're editing. Sometimes
especially when you're
do
editing.
you ever
Yeah.
sometimes get like sick of your own voice when you edit so many interviews? You like sit there and you're like, oh, wow, that's what I look like. That's what I sound like. Like,
Yeah, I think yeah, when I started out with the podcast 2022, I think it was like for the all the episodes I did in 2022 and even like a little bit of 2023, I was like all the recording, I would skip everything I was saying. I would just
yeah,
jump into what the
yeah.
guest was
What the
saying.
person was saying. Yeah, I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still do that. Like
Did
sometimes
that,
I'll
all
go
that.
and I'm gonna sit here going, oh, I don't like my part, and I skip over to your part, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
because. I feel like because we're our biggest critics when it comes to like what we do, so I feel like we judge all like the small details.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I think yeah, it's very easy. Like I think now I'm very much more used to it, and because at the same time I want to know how I'm asking, what I'm asking, and then I'm making sure that okay, if I'm asking this, maybe I could have done this. I will do better next time, and so
yeah,
I'm trying to maybe I'll ask question this time quickly because I sometimes would take a little bit of time, then I ask the questions. I watch this and I realize okay, I'm taking way too long, or I could have asked this a little bit better way. So like that was kind of like, teaching myself like, okay, this is what I need to do better.
well, going on to a question that I actually wanted to ask, and I'd love to know, like, what was the best thing you've learned doing all these interviews that really does help you now that you didn't know when you were just starting out?
Wow, it's like it's a tough one because there's a lot of things that I have learned, but I sometimes also don't follow, and I need to follow that. Like it's a thing that goes away from my mind, and I need to remember it again that this is how it is. But like I think one of the things that I really struggled with very for a long time, I think till 2024, sometime midway, is when I was like, okay, I think now I'm good with it. Is a lot of people wanted me to ask questions in the sense of like the way I think you're doing a great job in there, where you're asking questions right away and not taking extra time to talk a little bit and then ask questions. And I was doing that. I was like talking a little bit and then asking the questions, or I was trying to explain a little bit about what I feel or whatever it is, and then ask the question in that way. And a lot of people are saying like, okay, that's you are asking a question, so you're not supposed to do this. You are supposed to just ask questions. You're supposed to give more time to them. And so I took that kind of like a offensive in some ways. I was like, okay, that's how it is. That's how it should be. And I would ask other people. I know some people who are in games media, and I would ask them like, okay, is that right? Is that wrong? And they were like, yeah, it's a conversation. It's not a job interview kind of thing. It's a
Yeah,
conversation. So I realized the way I am asking questions is okay. Like it's going to be different for different people, and it's not a short and short kind of interview where I don't know if you have watched the interviews done when the movies are coming out. They have like 5 minutes of time and they have to ask questions quickly. So it's not like you're doing that. It's your full conversation. It's a relaxed conversation. So it's fine. Whatever way you're doing it, however way you're asking the question, and however way you're doing this conversation, you are fine. And that there's no particular a playbook of like this is how you have to do it. So that is one of the things that regardless of how you're doing it, if you are having this conversation with anybody and you're able to have the conversation and you're able to get the answers and it's a good fun conversation back to back, then you're doing a good job. Otherwise there's nothing else you need to worry about how the questions are framed and how you're asking the questions. Like it doesn't matter as long as you're having a conversation. So that took me a long time to realize that it's okay the way I'm doing it. and I don't have to be critical about how much time I'm taking to ask the question that I want to ask. So it's like it's that took me a while. So that I think is one of the things that you have your own process and it's fine, whatever process you have.
And kind of moving on to my next question, well, not really a question, but I feel like you may have noticed, but some of the best questions you could ask are some that like questions that you think of on the spot. Like sometimes you'll be
Mm.
talking with them and they say something and you'll be like, oh, that's actually, we could go on from there. And I feel like you probably had that moment many, many times when you're
Yeah,
doing
yeah, it's
interviews.
a yeah, it's the best thing. Like to do have questions come up on the spot, and it's fun to do that because then you have these questions, and they were always like it's if, the more you do and the more kind of attention you get, there's people out there who are like, oh, you're not kind of continuing what they wanted to talk about, and so that is also was in my head that am I not allowing them to talk more, and there was like all these doubts, but yeah, it's so fun to kind of like they have something to say and they kind of like jump into something else and then I can be like oh yeah that and I can just kind of extend that and ask another question based on that, so it's fun to do that, so it's really really cool, then they get connected a little bit more and then they have like a brighter answer
Yeah.
and it feels like that answer that now that conversation is much more, there's more connection there.
I just want to say before I continue on with my next question, I'm on my last two. So
Yeah.
I gotta ask, how does it feel being on the spot now? 50 minutes later, being in this chair where you get interviewed instead of doing the interviewing.
Yeah, it is. It is a it is a very weird place to be because I always feel like there's not much that I can really offer because I have not really done much, and
Hey, you
it's been like 3 years
with
almost.
with
So
51 minutes in, I feel like you've got a bit of insight when it comes to what we're doing. What we're doing. Well,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just like always the thing like where I always feel like there's not much that I can really deliver per se. Surely there's some things that people can probably learn, but I always feel like there's not really that much. I feel like whatever a person has to learn, I think they have to just start doing it and then they'll learn. Like that's how I always have seen it. Is like you start doing it, then you will learn. There's like it's not a rocket science where you have to go study. Like you have to go to a I don't know institute and learn and all that stuff. So I feel at least in this situation, I feel like it's easier, but you have to start and then you'll get there or you learn it.
I wanted to know because obviously it seems like you obviously love what you do, and especially when it comes to interviewing. But I'd love to know what your favorite interview is. Like, is there like an interview with like a celebrity or a director like that you found really good?
Oh my God. That's a million videos that I've seen. It's
All of them are popping into his head right now.
all of them trying to pop in my head. But I think like kind of recently, I think the ones that I've really enjoyed. I remember it's like a little older, but like when Supernatural was having they were releasing seasons after seasons, and they would have these Comic Cons events like San Diego Comic Con, and they would have the next season they were talking about it, and that whole convention, which is an hour long.
Yeah.
I enjoyed theirs more, and I would watch the whole thing like an hour long. It was a convention. They had like fan Q&A, all of it. So I watch it. I watch theirs because they love having fun with each other. And as they're talking, so there was never a dull moment. Those guys are like hilarious, Jensen Ackles and Jerry Padalecki. So I just watch that. I think those are that like long as a long kind of thing. I had enjoyed that the most. But I think other than that, like in a shorter format, I think the interviews I was watching with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, all of them.
Oh.
So because Ryan Reynolds was there, and he never has a dull moment. So it was like all of those interviews, every single one of them that I watched, I had a great time.
All right, well, this is a bonus question. Yeah, it just popped in my mind. If you could do if you could do either Hot Ones with Sean Evans or Chicken Shop Date with Amelia, which one are you picking and why? If you could pick
Oh
one to
gosh,
do.
they're both scary. They're not scary, but like I don't know. I feel like with Sean, I think
Do you
yeah,
want to
hot ones
torture
would be.
do you want to torture yourself with hot wings, or do you want to go on an awkward chicken shop date?
Yeah, awkwardness is not my thing. I mean, I'm awkward, so it's gonna be very even more awkward. But I think like yeah, I would probably go hot ones. I'll
How
probably
many
cry a little bit, but I'll talk to Sean. It's
what
amazing.
what wing do you think you could make it up to? Out of all, like 1 to 10, what level do you think you could make it up to?
I don't know if I can survive the first round, but I'll hopefully stay there and I don't have to go to the hospital. That's what I hope for. But like, if Sean is there, I'm talking to. He has I don't know what he does and how he does it and how he finds a lot of different things. But yeah,
I feel like
talking to him would be great.
that's a good answer. Well, I feel like I have to ask the last question now. With obviously you now over 100 episodes. I know I've said that many times, but still, that is a big achievement, especially when it comes to the interviewing world. Where do you see yourself going in 5 years? Do you hope to maybe just start doing in-person interviews? Do you maybe want to do a new format? Like, what is your goal?
Yeah, I always had this I've wild kind of like dreams in my head, but like I always have this goal. Like I would love to do like in-person interviews. That'd be really awesome. And like I think one of the things that I really want to do, and I don't think so it's gonna happen or not, but every movie when it comes out, there is a press junket kind of thing that happens where there are interviews for a lot
Mm-hmm.
of different media outlets does it, and I kind of want to do that for games. I want to do that where a director get the opportunity to, when a game comes out, they get the opportunity. It
Yeah.
happens like surely IGNs and all these people do it, but I feel like not only directors but an actor gets the opportunity to talk about it immediately, which I love that Clear Obscure had that. But like I would love to do that more so, and obviously in person would be amazing. So that is what I'm thinking of doing, hopefully, if that is ever possible. So that yeah, that's a goal that I have. At least, if nothing else, at least that in-person interview thing would be a lovely go in a set and get to talk to a person who I can see, look in them in the eye, and it will be, I think, a much better time. So that is something I dream of and something I'm trying to work towards.
Well, mate, I just want to say we are now almost an hour in, which is I'm impressed. I hope you enjoyed my questions. I hope you had a good
Oh,
time,
absolutely.
especially with this interview. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on. As one interviewer to another, this was great. You gave some good answers.
No, no, yeah, this is really good. I think this is really fun. You had some great questions, and the way you were, framing questions and kind of talking one after the other, it was really great. That is something that I constantly work towards, where it's one after the other, sort of not exactly one after the other, but it's like a good paced kind of like questions and all that. So you did a great job there. So thank you really much for inviting me to do this, because this is always a weird thing for me. Like, okay,
It's a
why,
change
like
of
who?
pace.
Like, yeah, who would interview me? So like it's a good thing that I felt really comfortable. So thank you for making that possible.
Well, I really appreciate that, mate.